What's up? It's Mike Mal, and you are listening to the Athletor Podcast, where we dive into the processes, mindsets, strategies of some of the most successful athletes and coaches from all walks of life. Athletor Podcast coming at you. Olympic gold medalist Kenny Monday is on the podcast this week. He talks about going 3 cycles and the longevity that it takes to do that. He also talks about being the brand new head coach at Morgan State, an HBCU that just started wrestling not too long ago. All the recruiting efforts, all of the fundraising efforts that goes into starting a program just like that is absolutely amazing. He also talks a little bit about bringing up 2 young men through the sport with his very successful wife and how they did it. All that and more coming up on the podcast. Don't miss it. Hey, everyone knows that wrestling is 90% mental. We're super excited to have partnered with Wrestling Mindset, the #1 wrestling-specific mindset program in the world. Make sure to sign up at WrestlingMindset.com using promo code Athletor25 for a $500 discount. Stop underperforming and losing to guys that you should beat. Athletor Podcast, back again. Head coach Kenny Monday. Thank you so much for coming on today, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for inviting me, man. It's always good to chat it up with you, man. Chop it up and talk
we
life,
go
wrestling.
back. So hold on one second. So people don't I can remember back in 2012, I think you were assistant on the Olympic team or something like that.
Coach Tacoma Scott.
Yeah. And and after the match, I don't know if you remember this, but we were all kind of shaking it out.
Yeah.
And I remember I kind of just grabbed it, just goofing around, grabbed a 2-on-1. And I didn't get my second hand on your wrist. And you got an underhook. And I was like, well, we won't be doing that anymore.
I don't know if I remember that, but I remember we may have grabbed each other for something. I'm not for sure what it was, but and I'm always ready.
You're always ready. Always ready.
I stay ready, man. I stay ready. Especially upper body.
You gotta get ready. Yeah. All right. We got a lot to talk about, man. Look, first of all, I did congratulate you, but publicly congratulations on the job at Morgan State. How is that going? I don't understand. So was it ever a Division I school before you got there, or is it just become a Division I school?
It was back when they dropped their program in '96. I think it was Division II school still. Yeah. I don't think they've ever been wrestling in the Division I. But those guys back in those days, if they won their tournament, Division II tournament, they were allowed to come to the NCAA tournament.
Right, like Hasselrig did. And,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Bubba Smith, also Ricky Stewart from Oklahoma State. My senior year in high school, he made the finals, beat Zilberberg from Minnesota, knocked him off, and then wrestled Ricky Stewart in the finals for Morgan State.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Do you think that could happen in today's wrestling landscape?
A Division II wrestler?
Yeah.
Well, of course they changed the rules, so we won't see it.
Right, but do you think it could?
I think there's some kids in there that could probably. I don't know if they could win, but I think they could All-American. There's some good kids in there. The one kid he's at Iowa State now.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Adam Lee or something. Nebraska or something like that. Yeah.
He's at Iowa State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think he could. I think he's All-American. I don't know if he could win.
Sure. All right. So walk me through how you go about reinstating a program at Morgan State. I mean, from what I remember, it was like a $2.6 or $2.7 million gift that was devoted to wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yep. Nova Grads was the main source on that, and it was it's going good. They decided to bring the program back. I think they were looking for HBCUs that were interested in bringing wrestling back, because now we're the only HBCU that has a wrestling program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when they dropped them, back in '96. I think it was just Title IX played a big part in it, and then of
Sure.
course funding and that whole thing. But yeah, so just looking for universities that were interested. And Morgan State was the one that said yes. The athletic director at that point said, "Yeah, we're down." And so that's kind of how it started. And I was really on the committee to looking for those programs, talking to different athletic directors, like in different HBCUs, and I'm on the BWA committee, and so I was helping those guys, just trying to talk to uh, any of the athletic directors that would be interested in. And so when Morgan State came in and when they came to me at first and asked me if I was interested, at first I wasn't interested. At first I wasn't really interested in being a head coach in college. So I was more toward working with the athletic Olympic movement, RTC coach, that kind of thing, and so I really wasn't looking for a head coaching position in a college, and it just kind of came. I think when they came back the second time around, and I kind of thought about it, kind of prayed about it, and just thought that with my name and my legacy, that it would be a better fit for me to start a program from scratch, which has been probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
I was just about to say that. Like, really?
The
That sounds
biggest
like a
challenge,
lot of work.
yeah, the biggest challenge I've ever had. One of them, of course. But I love challenges, and I really dug into it, man, and thought about it. I'm like, man, we can do this. We can build a program, and we can get some kids to come and take a chance on us, and just try to build a top 10 program.
So let me ask you this. This question is kind of twofold. Number one, what did they not? So you have always been the guy that has hands on the athletes. And correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong, but at Oklahoma State, at UNC, you were always the guy that was whistle in mouth, ready to go, hands on athletes.
Right.
That's really hard to be in every day. Maybe as you're building, but
Mhm.
as you start to grow, something tells me you're going to have to kind of separate a little bit and become more of a CEO type. So what was the biggest challenge from going from a head like a hands-on coach to now an administrative type of role in like a head coaching position?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge was just
Hey, don't go anywhere. It's Mike. We'll get back to the podcast in just a second. We got to pay the bills though. Do you have an athlete that's looking to break into the social media space? We at athletorlive.com have a brand new in-depth tutorial done by none other than Caden Henshaw. If you don't know who Caden is, he's not even a Division I wrestler, yet he's got hundreds of thousands of engaged followers. Learn how to create engaging content, grow your followers, and open up new opportunities in the NIL space. Go to athletorlive.com/Caden and we'll give you the first module completely free.
challenge was just reintroducing the sport of wrestling to Morgan State and administrators, right? Because they hadn't had a program there in 27 years. And so just getting them up to speed with what wrestling looks like on the college level, on a D1 level, what our needs are, how we can be competitive in recruiting, try to get the best kids in there, what it looks like on a competitive side. We're just putting matches together and that whole thing. And so, yeah, that's kind of been the biggest challenge, is kind of reintroducing the sport of wrestling to Morgan State and the administrators. Other than that, it's just been, you're right. I mean, the landscape has really changed. It really has. It's evolved into something that we never would have thought we'd see in sport and college athletics with the NIL and that whole thing, and then just the transfer portal and those things that were non-existent when I was competing, right, or even when I was coaching. And so that's kind of changed the game, where you've got to go out and wrestling. And of course, college coaches have always been in the position where they had to go raise money and they had to go out and get the community involved and get the business leaders involved. Those things were always a part of college wrestling. I've seen it through my time with, when my coach Chesbro was coaching, and the things he did to get the alumni and the business committee involved. But now it's just what was under the table when I was coming through is pretty much on the table, right?
Yeah,
And so those things has really made the position of a head coach very, very difficult. And you're right. I mean, you gotta run it like a business. You gotta go out. You gotta raise money. You gotta raise funds. You gotta build your fan base. You gotta build your camps. You gotta be, so it's just really, and you have to get your assistants in place where they're doing a lot of things that you need to do, but you really can't. You don't have the time, and so you really had to have delegation to your assistants to where they can go out and do the things that you just don't have time to do, right? And so you
sure.
got to have good support system, and that's why you see now these guys they're hiring directors of operations, just so they can get that off their desk, right? So they're hiring guys that understand business and kind of how to run your organization like a business, right? And so it's not just about teaching wrestling, of course, which that's kind of what we really want to do. That's kind of
Yeah,
all we really want to do.
sure.
But it's hard to be successful this day and age with just X's and O's, right? So
100%. And
yeah,
we talk about that on this podcast a lot. And I do want to
right,
get back to fundraising, but
right,
but one of the things that stuck with me that you said was you have to reintroduce wrestling
yeah,
to the administration.
right,
That's an interesting concept to me. And that's my ignorance because like why don't you know wrestling? Because I know
yeah,
wrestling. I've been doing this my whole life,
right, right,
but
right,
they don't know wrestling,
right.
and
They don't,
that
they don't.
it becomes problematic. So walk me through. So and every coach that we've had on here has made it a point to say something to the effect of you got to get the administration on your side day
Hmm.
one, whether that means walking up there with a doggone t-shirt or just knowing their names and what they do. So tell me what it's like to talk to an administration, explain to them something that comes so natural to us, something that
Hmm.
we don't even think about, but conveying how much passion you have for the sport so they can kind of feel that as well.
Yeah, it's just it's a challenge when you don't. I think our biggest challenge is it's been dried up for 20 something years, right? And so you have people that have never seen the sport of wrestling, never was a fan of sport of wrestling. It's not like you come from like any other school that the Oklahoma State, any UNCs where they know about wrestling, they've seen it. It's not foreign to them, and so you got people that are fans of the sport somewhere down the line, and somewhere in their family or someone they know. So it's been a challenge just trying to, because they're not really fans of the sport,
Right.
so they
Right.
don't have the same passion. Of course, they don't see how important it is to have a regional training center that's going to help you build your program, your camp system. I think they kind of understand the camp system, but as far as just trying to build the community fan base in where I'm working with high schools and working with the club teams and trying to get them to help me build a club program that's going to build the fan base. So those things, and then just but we do have a good administrative program where the president, I mean, he had never seen a wrestling match before I
Really.
got there. He had never seen a match.
Yeah.
But he's a sportsman. He loves sports, and um, he loves what we bring to the university as far as bringing young student athletes to campus. I got some international kids coming from different countries that I've signed this year, and so he's excited about the future of wrestling and what we bring, just bringing more student athletes to Morgan State. And he's very supportive. He's very supportive. But one thing that you said that kind of stood out is just like trying to get, because we deal with, of course, admissions, we deal with compliance, we deal with um, just the social media department. So all those things play a part. And so what you try not to do is just try not to step on any toes, try not to create uh, enemies on campus, right? And I tell these kids all the time, kids on my team, our job is to build a support system on campus, right? From your professors, from your admin, from your compliance department, from your student body. We can't create enemies on campus. We can't, it's hard
I
enough
made
to
that
build a
mistake.
program. Yeah,
I have
yeah, for
made that
sure.
mistake.
Absolutely. And it's hard not to, because again, like you said, our passion is not their passion. But end of the day, I'm trying to win. I'm trying
Yeah.
to put the best team on the map. It's going to help us win. It's going to help us move up in the sport, right? And so I think it's just our going into our third season, and now they kind of understand how I work, what I'm looking for, and I'm trying to not piss anybody off as far as pushing too hard kind of thing. I'm pushing,
Yeah.
but I gotta do it in a way where it's not uncomfortable, right?
Right.
To certain people just on our staff, and so it's a balance, man. It's a fine line that you walk, because again, you want to do as much as you can to help our kids and fight for every kid that you have. A couple kids I've recruited, that I'm trying to get in, and sometimes it doesn't work out,
Right.
and so it's a challenge, man. But I love it. I love it just because I love the fact that we get we get to do what we love. I get to work with young kids, and that's kind of been my passion since the day I was little. I've always loved teaching. I always love building programs, and I'm always looking for a team. I always looking for a team to work with, and so it's been good, man. It's good. It's getting better. It's getting better every day. I should say
Yeah,
that.
I hear you. Pushing back. So did you take any lessons? I'm okay. I've told this story on the podcast a million times.
Yeah.
I was crushing my team with a workout.
Right.
They had to hold the kettlebell the entire time for a mile, and they had to do different exercises. Well, they were lagging ass, and so I picked up a kettlebell. I started doing it myself, and
Yeah.
just as I did, uh, the the athletic director comes in and says he needs to speak to me immediately. It's urgent. And I was like, well, I told the men that I'm not going to put this kettlebell down. So I'm not going to put
Yeah.
this kettlebell. So I took the meeting with a 45-pound kettlebell like this
Oh
in
shit.
his office. So that was stupid. Hey, look,
Yeah.
I'll be the
Yeah.
first one to tell you that was
Yeah.
dumb. That was not smart. I,
Right.
I gained the respect of my athletes, but I already had it. And
Yeah.
this guy like it was just
Yeah.
another reason for this guy to hate me. But
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, where's the line between pushing back and advocating for your athletes and not pissing off that administration, right?
Yeah. Just it comes back to communication, Mike. It just you have to communicate what your goals are. And when I first came, I'm laid out. Okay, this is what my vision. And I only know one way. I only know coming from Oklahoma State and coming from the places that I've been in the sport of wrestling, from the bottom to the top.
Mhm.
From coming growing up in Oklahoma, where it was just a hotbed of wrestling, right? And so everybody knew about wrestling. Everybody was a fan of wrestling, whether they wrestled or not. They were still a fan just
Mhm.
because they've seen it, right? So where I've come from to present day, trying to get them to understand my passion, but then again, communicating what I need to be successful, and then also um, doing it in a way where it's just, of course, it's compliant. It's
Mhm.
within the university code of conduct. The universities, um, kind of just what their goals are as far as um, an athletic department. So just kind of communicating. I think that was the biggest thing for me, is just communicating, and then staying within, the rules of NCAA and that kind of thing. But just pushing as hard as I can, right? I think one of the things that of course my lesson is everyone is not me, right?
Mhm.
These guys,
Mhm.
they come in, and not everyone want to be an Olympic champion.
Yeah.
Most of the kids do, but some kids just want to come and wrestle and get a degree and go on a business and go raise a family or whatever. Not everyone has that same goal or that same dream to be the best in the world. And I have to respect that. Right. And so, but again, I only know one way. I only want, the people I've been around, of course, some of the best ever. I've wrestled some of the best ever. I've beat some of the best ever, lost some of the best ever. I've coached some of the best ever. So my experience is very vast, but still staying within, that framework of Morgan State and how they want to do business. Right. And so
Sure.
it's yeah, it's a fine line. It's a fine line,
Sure.
but they give me leadway to how to run the program. But it's tough just because we don't. Our alumni base is kind of dried up, right? Because they haven't
Sure.
had a program in a long time, so I can't lean on the alumni base for support. So I got to go recruit and and build that fan base, and then
Yeah.
there's a few guys that's still around. They kind of come around to help, but
Well, that was kind
it's a
of
challenge.
that's where I wanted to go next, right? Like, all right, let's talk about Rob Cole, right?
Yeah,
Rob Cole
right.
goes from, well, let's call it Cornell. I know he had a pit stop
Yeah,
in Stanford,
yep,
but
yep,
Cornell to UNC,
right.
and he's got a Rolodex. Not
Yeah,
only does he have a Rolodex of folks that he can call, but he also went to school there, so he knows
right,
cats that he went to school with
right,
that can help him.
right.
You didn't have that luxury. Um, so where do you start? Like, okay, you got to get the recruits in town because you got
Yep.
to have something to sell for sure. That's probably number one. But the second thing has to be, how do I get a donor base? How do I get butts in the seats? How do I get excitement built around this program? Where do you
Mhm.
start?
Yeah, it starts with your staff, right? It starts with your staff, and then it starts with the kids you bring in, right?
Mhm.
Everybody loves a winner. I mean, people love winners, right? So if you're that's and I tell my guys, we got to be showmen, right? We're entertainers, and you got to be able to put something on the mat that people want to come see. And so yeah, it starts with that. It starts with who you bring into the program. Um, it's interesting that you're using a Cole example. I mean, and of course, even when I was at UNC when Kennedy wrestled there, and I was there with Coleman Scott as the RTC coach. I mean, there were people that still talked about Rob Cole.
Yeah,
He was an
yeah.
alumni. He was one of the NCAA champs that come through there. TJ Jaworski
Mhm.
would come around, and of course, I coached TJ at Oklahoma State. So yeah, he had a people that were kind of just waiting for him to come there, right? So
Sure.
they were yeah ready made. And so yeah, you kind of have a head start with that, and you're starting from scratch, man. It's just I think you just got to start with what you put on the mat, your program. I think us, I gained the EIWA. So when we first got that first year, we wasn't in the conference.
Right.
And so right away, I'm like, man, we have got to get in the conference. We have got to get in the conference. So I start putting that together and start advocating and talking to all the coaches. And I think what really helped me is having Quincy at Princeton. I was already, and he did, of course, with Princeton being in the EIWA, I had already kind of knew a lot of those guys and seeing how the tournament, how the conference ran and who was in the conference. And so I kind of knew those guys from around Princeton with Quincy. So I was able to, right away talk to, Colat and Borelli's and all the guys that was in the conference already. It helped us that, of course, when the Ivies pulled out doing their own thing, that kind of opened the door for us because it
Sure.
dropped it down from 17 to 11, and so now we're the 12th team in the AIWA. So that whole first season, man, I was really advocating and pushing to try to get to a conference. And geographically, EIWA made the most sense just because of where we were located, and it's really worked. It really worked well last year. Last year was our first year in the conference, and so that was a big get. That was a big thing that when I leave, hopefully they'll still be strong in the IWS. That's of course, the oldest wrestling conference in the country, and so we're excited and proud to be in the conference, and that was really a big get for us.
Yeah, people don't realize what a stress that is. I'm not going to
Yeah,
mention names,
right.
but Joe and I have a friend,
Yeah,
was in between conferences for a bit, and like
yeah,
that took up a bulk of his day,
yeah, right.
and I don't have it. Like I can't. I could just be like, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to. I got nothing for you. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know what that's like. But that
It's a
all
battle.
said, it's good that you are in the
Hmm.
IWA. It's a
Yep.
solid, strong conference, not
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
Um,
And I must say this too. I mean, all of the coaches were very welcoming, and they were very supportive, which was, I mean, it's not always the case, but pretty much everyone in the conference was supportive. They understood where we were coming from. They understood where we were, being a brand new program and needing a home.
mhm.
And so I'm really appreciative of those guys being supportive and welcoming us to the conference and being, open arms to us joining that conference. So I really give my hats off to those guys that's already in the conference.
Yeah, no,
Those
look,
teams.
it's filled with a bunch of really good dudes, and at the top of
Yeah,
the list is Santoro, right?
yeah,
Like I've
absolutely.
never
Yep.
heard a bad word said
Right,
about Pat Santoro, right?
right, right, right.
One of the greatest dudes ever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He
You know,
gives me a hard
so
time. He gives me a hard time. He tells a story in '96, and I guess he was coming out. He was trying to get on the circuit, and I'd come back to make that team in '96, and I think we worked out one day, and he said that was one of the worst whoopings he's ever had.
something tells me you've given a couple of those, Kenny. All right. So we covered a little, like, so, but specifically on the fundraising front, yeah, I know you got to put horses in the stable. I know,
Hmm.
I get it. But
Got to
at a
win.
certain point, you gotta raise money if you want to compete in
Yeah,
2025, 2026.
right.
You gotta create money. Where were your first? What type of people were your first phone calls to get excited about the program?
Yeah, that's a great question because I had never really I had never been to Baltimore. Um, Been to Maryland. I think I came to the NCAA tournament the year that was in Maryland. But
That was College Park, though, right?
College Park, yep,
Yeah,
yep. But luckily, it's just interesting. My wife is a Mary Kay national sales director,
for Mary
and
Kay.
yep, and so she's been in the business for 30 years. The lady that brought her into the business in Mary Kay 30 years ago, Gloria Mayfield Banks, lives in Baltimore. And
Okay.
so one of her best friends, she was probably number one in the whole company of Mary
Mhm,
Kay.
mhm.
The lady that brought her in, Gloria, and they live in Baltimore. And so 30 years ago, they met in Boston. My wife got her master's at BU,
Mhm.
and was running a store, accessory store, and met her. And so now, 30 years later, they live in Baltimore. And so her husband is he's retired now, but he had a construction company here in Baltimore. And so he knew, a lot of people in the business community, and really he got me on the ball right away. He introduced me to about 5 or 6 prominent business people in Baltimore, and this one guy, just like, he is so good at connecting people, right? So he connected me with about 10 people that were very successful in the area, and a couple guys were wrestlers, right?
Oh, you gotta love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So there's one guy kind of wrestled, and so he had a love, and tells the story. Actually, 2 of the guys were wrestlers. One guy, Tim Reagan, he was owns Whiting and Turner, the construction company. he wrestled growing up, and he attributes his success to the sport of wrestling. He's like, man, I wrestled and it taught me so much about, what it does in character and discipline and setting your goals and never giving up. And so he talks about how wrestling shaped him in his life. And so guys like that. And so he's a donor. And so just introducing me to people in Maryland. It's a lot of great business people in the city that I've been connected to. And so it's just getting those people to believe in my vision and see my vision and what I'm trying to accomplish, and then having a footprint also in the community to where I can get my hands on these young kids and keep them off the street and get them thinking about wrestling and teaching about the sport of wrestling, and then hopefully getting them thinking about Morgan State, just like we did at Oklahoma State, right? You grow up dreaming about wrestling at Oklahoma State or University of Oklahoma. That's what you dream about, right? So trying to create that support and that buzz in the city. But yeah, it's a weekly grind as far as getting out, meeting people, getting them excited about my vision and what I'm trying to accomplish, and just trying to build our country, build these young people up, boys to men, and putting these people out, these young men out in the world, better than when you got them, right? So just boys to men, right? And so that's kind of my goal, helping them to see that vision. But yeah, it's a grind. I do more of that than I do coach.
That is the overlying theme.
It is.
I want to shoot single legs more.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can't shy away from it, or you can't be like, oh man, I can't. I love good people.
Mhm.
I love good people. I love good people, and so it's not hard for me to go, and talk to people about what we're doing, what they're doing, how can they be successful. Like I really love bringing in successful people and talking to my guys. It's like, this is what I did. This is kind of the things that I've done in my life to allow me to have a lifestyle that I live. Right.
Mhm.
And so it's about teaching that lifestyle, man, and accountability, but success, leadership, those things that if you're doing wrestling right, you're going to evolve in those areas for sure.
No doubt about it. The one
Yeah.
thing that you said that really stuck out to me was networking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Spates or if it was, I forget who it was. And we've talked about it on this podcast a bunch, but even if they say they can't help you right now,
Right.
putting you in contact with a web of other people that are like-minded or
Hmm.
at least would understand your vision, that becomes invaluable. That becomes
Yeah.
completely invaluable.
Right.
Talk to me about the first time somebody said, all right, I don't know if I can help you right now, but you need to speak to this person. And then that one worked out. Like, how exciting is that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was actually, the first guy I met, the first guy that my friend Kim Banks that introduced me to. And the gentleman, he owns he just retired this last year, but he owned an accounting firm. And I just had lunch with him yesterday. And but he right away said, Kenny, and he was he's the president of this Baltimore Golf Club. So he comes across a lot of people, and so he just connected me with 4 or 5 people, and the second guy I met was like, boom, I'm what do you need,
Yeah.
right? And I can't, I can't give you 20 million, but I can help, right? And so
Sure.
yeah, it's just about just putting those people together, and I frame it like this. Yeah, my job is to develop a winner circle, and that's what I call them, a winner circle, where I've got just a circle of people that understand what it takes to be successful, what it takes to kind of build a program, and they see a vision. They see a vision, and they see what my life has been and how I've lived my life, and then they want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of it. And so it's exciting to see. It's so funny. I had one of the donors. It was actually he owned the Baltimore Orioles, and he's sold the business now. And he the first year he invited our team, my whole team, 30 guys, to the Orioles baseball game, and so that was really a fun time, and he's helped us, and he sold the team now, but
That's a
and
good
so
guy. That's a good guy to have on the Rolodex, though.
yeah, absolutely, and he
Especially they
wrestled.
start making the playoffs.
Yeah, and he wrestled
Oh, he did?
back in the day. Yes,
Okay.
he wrestled at Gilman, and it's so funny because we were at the game and we're in the owner's box. John Angelos is his name, and he was in the owner's box, and we went up, and he so we started talking, and he said, "Yeah, I wrestled a little bit back in the day." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Where'd you wrestle?" Tell me, Gilman. He said, "Yeah, I went to the Prep Nationals." Prep Nationals, and I said, "Yeah." So how'd you do? He said, "I got fourth, but I lost in the semis. I could have won." I said, "You got fourth?" I said, "Man, if you got fourth in the Prep Nationals, you're pretty good,
Legit.
right?"
No, that's legit.
Yeah, it is legit because we've been there, and we know if it'll stream out. But then that top five kids, top 4 or 5 kids, they're wrestling. They're good.
No doubt.
And so I said, man, and so I could tell he hadn't talked wrestling in a long time, right? And so he's a baseball guy now, but we're talking wrestling, and I could tell he never gets to talk about wrestling. Yeah. So he's like, you probably never want to hear it. I'm like, no, I want to hear it.
I do.
Yeah, I want to hear it. So 45 minutes, he's talking about his wrestling career. And so it was just really, really cool. And so he's helped us out. And so but it's just like guys like that, man. It's amazing that you run across these guys that wrestle. They're no longer in the sport, but they have a history of wrestling that's helped them become the men they are. And so it was really, really cool to see that.
Okay. Now that's important to me.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. We as a sport don't do a very good job of retaining fans.
Right.
Okay? We don't do a very good job. Why do you think that is, and how do you think we can change that for the future?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Coming from where I've come from, Oklahoma State is, I was an Oklahoma State fan back when I was 8, 9 years old. I was going down to the matches. And so, but you see the states like the Pennsylvanias, the Ohios, the Oklahomas, the Iowas. That's a legacy of wrestling that of course you'll have your ups and downs, and I've seen where Oklahoma State has been like the biggest fan base, and they're screaming, and their fans are screaming, and Iowa's fans are screaming. They're going back and forth. Then I've seen them drop, of course, but it's all revolves around winning, right? It revolves around winning, and the excitement you put on the mat, and so that's just kind of the nature of the game. But I can say this, Mike. I can say this, and I believe this wholeheartedly. I've been saying this to a few people. Now is the best time in my life to be a wrestler. Mm-hmm. It's the best time to be a wrestler. If you have goals to be the best in the world, this is the best time to be a wrestler, right? And why do I say that? Why do I say that? Well, there's been things that has revolutionized the sport of wrestling. When I was coming out of Oklahoma State, my coach Tommy Chesbro asked me Monday, "What do you want to do after you finish wrestling?" And I was like, "Man, I would love to open a school of wrestling, a school of wrestling." Because when I grew up, I saw like karate schools and taekwondo schools on all over the city.
On Main Street, USA.
And these guys were running businesses and sustaining businesses for 20, 25 years. Right. But as a kid, and I had a lot of my friends that did karate, taekwondo, but if you're on the playground, I exposed those guys right away that what was a true martial art, right? And so I knew right away that wrestling was a martial art because I could beat those karate kids. I could take them down and they couldn't get up and it was over, right? And so I knew right away that it was the martial art, the more
Practical.
the
It's
yeah,
more practical.
it was the best. It was the best martial art out there, I think, is what I'm looking for. But anyway, so I told him that that's what I wanted to do, is where I could take a kid from the start, from the first time he starts, take him up through the system, from grade school to high school to college, and then to the Olympic Games, right? And so he was like, I don't know if you can do that. And at that time, no one had a club team. No one had running a club like the Young Guns or Pearlers or what the farm, what Coleman Scott is doing now, right? Coleman Scott is doing now what my vision of what we do, right? Bring it from start to finish. And and I heard Jordan Burroughs say that, right? That's kind of the vision that I had. And so now you see that. You see these guys and these kids, and that's why you see these kids making world teams as juniors in high school, right? Because they got great coaching from the time they're little, right? They're going to these club teams, and then they're training and they're wrestling. And of course, there's more opportunities to wrestle now than when we had. I mean, these guys got tournaments. I was just in Atlantic City with Kennedy for the draft thing, and they had a hotel full of kids,
Thousands
of kids.
thousands for that middleweight
What was
thing.
really cool, Mike? I just told my wife this the other day. What was really cool now, right? With the expansion of women wrestling. So I'm saying these families, husband, wife, daughter, sons. And so I see this one family, and the daughter was the oldest, and she's walking with two of her little brothers, and she's holding their hand. They all got wrestling shoes on, right? I'm like, look at this, man. That's the coolest thing. The whole freaking family's wrestling. You got your wrestling mom, wrestling dad, and they're serious about the game.
Yeah.
Serious about the game.
For real.
Yeah. So that was really good for me to see that, man. Like I said, it's the best time with what we're doing now with you guys' podcast, which of course with Flow Wrestling and YouTube. And I mean, you can watch wrestling now that you never could when we were growing up. You had to be there, right?
Yeah.
And so you can watch the best guys wrestle, as much as you want.
I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it. I'm doing research on U17 European championships, right? Like as we speak, man. Like
and that's why. Yeah, and that's why the world is better. That's why the world is these smaller countries, because now they can study technique. They can watch these matches. They can study what's going on when you couldn't do that growing up because you didn't have the means to see it. You had to be there. And so and now with the NIL deals and what's going on, man, it's the best time in my lifetime to be a wrestler.
All right, we're butting up on time a little bit, so before we get to our sprint of usual questions, I do got one more for you. When it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy in this sport to be? Do you want it to be as Tbilisi champion, as Olympic gold medalist? Do you want it to be as a coach? Where do you see because it's hard to outshine that Olympic gold medal and three Olympic teams. You did 3 cycles,
right?
Like that's. I mean, it's getting a little bit more common, I guess, with like guys like Snyder and David Defew, but that was when you were competing. That was unheard of. Didn't happen very often. I mean, Dave did it, right? But aside from that, where do you want your legacy to be?
Man, that's a good question. It's a tough question. It's a one that kind of makes me think. My legacy as a competitor, I think, is complete. I think I've won every tournament there was to win. From junior nationals to state tournaments. I didn't lose a match from the 7th grade to the 12th grade. But I think, just knowing that, and I just was very passionate about the sport. Fell in love with the sport at 5 years old. Never got, never felt negative about the sport. Never got burnt out. Never any of that. When it was time for me to retire, it was time for me to retire. But I had won every tournament that I pretty much wrestled in. I say my legacy, and it's been great for me, just the platform that I've had from winning Olympic gold medal. That kind of changed my whole platform, being able to touch so many kids, and it's so amazing for me to see these people. I've come across guys that, and it's like three generations deep, like guys that started wrestling, saw me win gold medal, was inspired, started wrestling as a kid, had kids. Now their kid is wrestling,
Mhm.
and their kid is wrestling, right? So it's
Right.
like 3, 4 generations deep. I, 96, I retired 40 years ago, right? And so I see these generations that were inspired from my success. And it's a really cool thing, right? I remember talking to David Taylor at the Tulsa National when he was 10 years old, right? And talking to his dad about, what he should do, and how when he wanted to be Olympic champion back then, as he had a vision. And I'm like, well, you should do this thing. You should, get him in a great room, great coaches, and compete as much as you can, but at the same time, don't overdo it, kind of thing. And
Sure.
so it's so cool to see these guys come up. And now he's Olympic champion. Now he's head coach at my alma mater. And so to watch these people come through and knowing that you had an impact on their life and on their career, it's an amazing thing. It makes me feel really good about my goal and my vision. And because I was exposed to greatness early.
Sure.
1972, those guys were coming down to Stillwater, the Dan Gables, the Wayne Wells, the Jimmy Carrs, the Rick Sanders, the Chris Taylor,
Mhm.
getting all those guys autographed when I was a kid. And that's what inspired me. I knew right then, once I saw those guys win a gold medal in 1972, that was my first, you know, um, time to see the Olympics. I was inspired. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew who I wanted to be, right? And so I know that inspired me to be great, and I just want to inspire other people to be great, right? And so
Hey,
I think
I'm
I'm the
sorry.
only
I'm
guy,
sorry.
only Olympic champion that's got two guys that's on the circuit, right?
Yeah.
I'm the only
Yeah.
one. I'm the only gold medalist that got two kids that are wrestling,
They're
right? And
they're in
got
the
an
thick of it.
opportunity. Yeah, they're there. They're there. They can do whatever they want. It's
Yeah.
up to them. It's their journey. But yeah, they're there.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive, man. All right. Joel Shaw, anything else before we get to our sprint?
Bring it home.
No, it's all good, man. I think it's like I said, I'm enjoying it. I'm happy for where I am. I'm happy to lead this program, and we're gonna put every year. I can promise you, we'll be better.
I
We'll
agree.
be
I agree with
better
that. I have no
every
doubt in
year,
my mind. I
every
have
year.
no
It's
doubt.
just taking some work.
All right. So here's what we're doing. I'm going to
All
fire
right.
up some questions for you.
All
Don't
right.
think about the answer. Just let me hear it. All right. Number one, what's the best wrestling shoe of all time?
The best wrestling shoe is the Asics I wore in the Olympic Games in 1988. They never put it out on the market. It was never sold. They just kind of gave it to us. It was the handmade shoe, and that's kind of the shoe that I've kind of modeled my shoe behind.
Mhm.
That shoe, that split sole shoe, that thing was so light and fast. I felt like Muhammad Ali in that shoe, man. So that was the best shoe I ever worn. The shoe I
Coach, I
have
got news
now,
for you. It wasn't really the shoes, bud.
yeah, it was.
You say so. Okay. Pretty sure you're going to
It's
put
the
a hole in
shoes.
somebody
It's
that
like,
year anyway.
uh, but now the shoe I have now with Rudis, man. That I like it. It's a good shoe, man.
Yeah.
I
All
like
right.
I like the shoe we have at Rudis right now.
Okay. All right. Now, we talked about a ton of different stuff coming up through the sport. Your new role as a head coach, building a business. Is there like one book recommendation that you could give to a younger coach that would kind of give him a little bit of a blueprint of what it means to be a coach in your position?
Uh, the gold standard.
Okay. Okay.
Gold standard. Just a second. Hold up.
All right. I love when they
Right back.
that's the best. That's the best. Because it's just visual. It's so much better.
I know, right? I'd be remiss if I didn't. And my wife would probably kill me if I didn't show this.
All right.
But this right here is
Okay.
it's the blueprint, right? And
There you
so
go.
the gold standard, right? And so it's a collaboration of me and my wife Sabrina. Of course, she's she's a national sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics, and that's the highest. She drives pink Cadillacs, and she's been really successful in her life. And so, just raising kids with two successful people, and yeah, it's kind of the blueprint, right? Raising
Yeah.
kids in the sport of wrestling. And my daughter's, she's a children's book editor for Penguin Random House, and so that's
Nice.
what she does. Yeah, yeah. So she's doing her thing, and of course, both the boys are college graduates and still on the circuit, and so that's the gold
That's the
standard.
one.
That's the one.
Go get it. Go get it. All right. All right. You only get 4. They
Oh,
gotta be
dude.
American.
Oh, dude.
Who's
Here we
on your
go.
Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
I knew you were going to ask me this question, and that's a tough one, dude. That's a tough one, but I got to go with Gable.
Okay.
Gable, because he inspired us in '72. He was just all over worldwide of sports, and we had to, we watched his career, and then of course he wins. He becomes a world champ, Olympic champ. Didn't get scored on the Olympic Games, and then he goes on to run off 9 straight titles. So Gable's got to be on there.
Okay.
I've worn his shoe. Then I've got to go with Smith, with John. John was a freshman when I was a senior, right?
Mhm.
And so kind of hit him upside his head a few times to get him to, even though he cost us an NCAA championship, seeded 4th and didn't play. So I'm gonna always bring that up. But watching John develop his low single and being in the room with him for two Olympic games, man, and watching him run off six in a row was pretty phenomenal. And I kind of judge it, people that you've wrestled, people that you beat, and people that beat you, right? And so that's kind of how I judge, my wrestling greatness. And then I think Burroughs, JB has got to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
I love. He came through with a time that we really needed him to come through.
No doubt
And
about it.
yep, and they kind of set the world on fire. Kind of made us, believe again. And after going through the drought that we had, and then he came and did his thing, and he's just a great ambassador for the sport. He really is.
Great.
I love the guy. I love his family, and think he's an amazing guy. But yeah, he came through in a time where we needed him. He surpassed John with 7 titles, and so got to put him on there. And then the rest is kind of tough. I think with me being the first Black Olympic champion in the sport of wrestling, I think it's kind of hard to not put myself on there. And
Yep.
so I think again,
Yep.
I've wrestled some of the best ever. I've lost to some of the best ever. I think Saitib is probably one of the best that we've ever had come through. And I wrestled him twice. The first time I wrestled him, I think it was I was beating him 2-0, and he ends up beating me 3-2. But that was when you had to score 3 points to win the match.
Right.
And I had to come back in 90. He had just won world title. I was coming back for 96. I wrestled him over in Greece and had him beat. It was really, and thought the match was over, but we had to go overtime because I beat him 2-0. And so we had to go overtime, and he ended up getting me 3-2. And then I wrestled him again in 96, but he's one of the best I've ever seen. But other than that, man, you look at Lee Kemp. Lee Kemp is 3-time world champ. Probably would have been the first Black Olympic champion in '80 if they would have wrestled.
If they went, yeah.
Lee Kemp inspired me, man. He was the guy that I looked up to, and I'd probably put him on there if I could. And Chris Campbell, you got Sanderson, you got Baumgartner's, Brands, you got a lot of Schultz. And the Schultz came through in a time that we needed him to, and he kind of, just kind of put us on a whole different path with what he know and just his knowledge. He made me who I am, right? If I didn't have Dave Schultz, I don't know if I'd have been Kenny Monday. If I didn't have to surpass that guy and work so hard to beat him. But those are my guys, man.
Yeah,
A little selfish.
that's a great list. I'm a Buvasar Satiev nerd.
Yeah.
What was it like touching that dude for the first time? Because he was
Well,
different.
he wasn't, he wasn't like Variav, he wasn't like Fazayev, he wasn't those guys. He wasn't as strong. He was leverage strong, right? So I came out, I doubled him right off the bat, I ducked him right off the bat. So I beat him 2-0, and then he really didn't impress me. And then he kind of was going crazy at the end and kind of got me on the edge of the mat. I thought it was kind of a tough call, and I think I should have won that match. But after the match, I'm like, man, this guy is not. He's not what I'm saying, right? Because I knew
Right.
he won a world title in '85,
Yeah.
but he was just kind of coming on the scene. I'm like, once I get in shape, I'm gonna get this guy, right?
Mhm.
I had a bad tournament. I just didn't feel
Mhm.
good, and I wish I'd had a chance of wrestling when I was good and fresh and young. But he was real long and leveragey, and it's kind of but he wasn't he didn't take me down. He couldn't shoot on me and take me down, right? I think he got around me one time, and I think he kind of hit tossed me the other time, but he never shot and took me down. So he wasn't he wasn't strong and like that typical Russian guy.
Sure.
But once I watched him develop, and I'm like, this guy is something different. He is something that we had never seen before, just with his movements and he kind of he reminds me of too now, like is Lil Jack Ford, Lil Jax kind of
Forrest,
wrestles like he kind of
absolutely.
wrestles like Variety. I mean, Saitiev, just because he never stops wrestling. He's
Yeah.
never out of a position. He's never in a position that he doesn't believe he can win.
Yeah.
Right.
Whether he
So
can or he can't doesn't matter.
Exactly. Whether he can or he can't, he's never in a position where he doesn't think he's gonna come out on top.
Yeah.
Right. And so that leverage and that his long reach and just his confidence is just something that it's rare. And I think
See,
Jackson's is a kid that he's gonna be
100%.
something. He's gonna be something
Oh,
to watch.
he's a
Dude.
special kid.
He really is.
But also, he doesn't have to touch your legs to score, and that changes the freaking game. That's different.
He doesn't. I think where he can develop it, where Sativ was really good. Sativ he could turn you, but he could go her body with you. Right? He's got so much leverage. He's so tight. He can inside out trips. He got throws. I think if Jack's starting to kind of really play with his upper body attacks, he's got this throw by, his slide by. I think he does, but if he can be more dangerous if he really starts to kind of work some upper body, some outside steps or some headlocks or some things like that. He's gonna be nasty.
Yeah, kid's tough. All right, last one. You got a magic wand. You can change one thing about the sport of wrestling. What would it be?
Oh man. That's tough. One thing I could change about the sport of wrestling. What I do miss, I think we got to get back to it. I really miss the international dual meets that we used to have. I mean, we used to have, dual meets with the Russian teams. Right? I think it's kind of changed now, but we would pack the house.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to compete against those guys. I think Iranian teams having those dual meets between international dual meets. I would change. I think, of course, I would create a. I think we're trying to do it, but create a professional league where guys can compete and make some money, and that kind of thing. So I just think
Claw's doing just that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Claw's doing the dual meet format.
Yep.
With international rules. I mean, it's a big I don't think people realize how big having dual meets is, right? It's a packageable, it's a manageable amount of time. Nobody wants to sit. Look, Final X is great. It's cool. I love it. But 4 hours worth of wrestling that's a lot to ask of anyone's attention span, man.
Right. I think I would take away the slam too. I would take away the slam and elite wrestling.
Yeah, it's such nonsense. It's such
I remember,
nonsense.
and that's what really attracted me to the sport, the freestyle. Right? I remember because growing up, if you slammed a kid, it was like they were about to handcuff you.
Yeah.
You're like, you see that kid? Oh, he was the worst kid. He slammed the kid, and you just got to pick him up and brought the kid down, right? And then when my coach told me we were wrestling freestyle, and I think I picked the kid up in the farmer's carry, kind of brought him down too hard, and I kind of jumped. I'm like, oh man, you know. And he's like, no, dude, you're fine. There ain't no slams in wrestling. Ain't no slams in freestyle. I was like, what? No slams in what? Dude, I couldn't wait to get guy. I couldn't wait to get him up on the air and slam him. Dude, I was like, freestyle is my dude. I'm loving freestyle, right? Just because I can slam you, right? And I'd be like public enemy number one.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I don't get it.
Those are good though. Look,
Yeah.
the slam rule is nonsense.
Yeah.
Nobody gets hurt in freestyle. Nobody gets hurt in freestyle.
No.
Like you see way more injuries from mat returns.
Exactly.
Like coming down on their arm or whatever. You
Right.
see way more. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Maybe you take that part of it out where if you're behind, you got a trapped arm, you can't do that. But just from neutral and that kind of stuff, I think it should be slamless.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Coach. Thank you so much for your time, man. I know
Thank
you're
you,
busy,
man. I
and
appreciate
you coming on, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Good luck to you, man. You're doing a great job. It's fun watching it. I just watched Jordan Oliver the other day, and that's my guy, man. Yeah,
J.O.
that's
is
my
good.
dude. He's
J.O.
my dude. So he's got a mind he's got a wrestling mind that's like one of a kind.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed coaching that kid, man. He was really something special.
He's unbelievable. All right,
He
Coach.
really
Thank you
is.
so much,
All right,
sir.
buddy.
I appreciate it.
God bless you.
Thank you,
How's
sir.
your boy doing? Good?
He's great, man. He loves the sport. That's all I can ask. That's all I can
Good.
ask. He
All
can't
right.
get enough of it.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.
All right, Coach.
Welcome to the
See you later.
Athletor Podcast.
Wait. Don't go anywhere before you hit that next button. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, do us a huge favor. Click that subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, leave a review and share it.
Welcome to the show.